Good morning. I'm Vice Mayor Shanika Smith, the Chair of Boards and Commissions Committee. I'd like to welcome you to the June 14th remote meeting. All council committee members and staff are participating virtually. To help our audience follow along, I'll state each section of the agenda aloud. We are streaming live on our virtual engagement hub, which is accessible through the virtual engagement hub link on the front page of the city website. We also have the option for the public to listen live by phone. For those of you out there today, welcome. For today's meeting, we have the option for people to call in and comment live during today's meeting. To call in and comment live, use the number 855-925-2801, meeting code 9478. Your phone will be muted and you will hear the meeting live. At this point, speakers will push *3 to enter the speaker queue. Now I'll do a roll call. A call to welcome staff members and committee members who are participating virtually. Just give a quick hello. Councilwoman Mosley.
Good morning.
Councilwoman Roney.
Hello.
Assistant City Manager Rachel Wood.
Good morning.
And from the City Manager's office, we have Peggy Rowe.
Hello, everyone.
Deputy City Clerk Sarah Gross. I didn't hear you, Sarah. I'm sorry.
Mute problems. Good morning.
Assistant Clerk Jerry Goldberg.
Good morning.
And I think later on we'll have Emily Ball. She has a presentation around homeless services. Okay, we'll start the agenda. Can I get a motion to approve the last minutes? I don't know the dates. I have March 8th on my
May 10th.
May 10th. Is there a motion?
So moved.
A second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. I'll do a roll call vote for approval. Councilwoman Mosley.
Aye.
Councilwoman Roney.
Aye.
And myself, aye. The motion carries. We'll start off with public comment. Is there anybody in the speaker queue?
No callers in the queue.
All right, we'll start our meeting. We have a vacancy for, hold on just for a moment, you all. I think I'm actually operating from last month's script.
Okay.
We have one vacancy. Excuse me?
I can send you.
Oh, no. I have a side.
Okay.
Personal notes. We can follow those. Okay, so I have an appointment, a recommended appointment for the African American Heritage Commission. Staff liaison recommends Diamond Sloan Couch, and that is a motion.
I'll second it.
All right, I'll do a roll call vote for approval. Councilwoman Mosley.
Aye.
Councilwoman Roney.
Aye.
And myself, aye. The motion carries. For the Airport Authority, we have one vacancy. There is a recommendation to appoint Brad Galbraith. Hope I pronounced his name right. I'll make a motion to appoint the recommendation. Kim, you have comments?
It's my understanding this is a reappointment. Is that correct?
Yes, it is a reappointment.
Second.
All right. Roll call vote for approval. Councilwoman Mosley.
Aye.
Councilwoman Roney.
Aye.
And myself, that is the motion carries. For the Asheville Buncombe Air Quality Board, there is one vacancy. There's a recommendation to reappoint Joel Starro. I make that motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, I'll do a roll call vote for approval. Councilwoman Mosley.
Aye.
Councilwoman Roney.
Aye.
And myself, aye. The motion carries. For the Audit Committee, there were no applications received, so we just re-advertise. Civic Center Commission, there is a recommendation from the board chair and staff liaison to reappoint Yvonne Cook Riley. I'll make a motion for that appointment. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, roll call vote for approval. Councilwoman Mosley.
Aye.
Councilwoman Roney.
Aye.
Myself, aye. The motion carries. For the Historic Resources Commission, there is a staff recommendation to appoint, and I do believe this is a reappointment, am I right? To reappoint Sarah Grosh. But there were no applications received for the other two seats. So I'll move to recommend Sarah Grosh for reappointment and to re-advertise for the other vacancies. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, roll call vote. For approval, Councilwoman Mosley,
Aye.
Councilwoman Roney,
Aye.
and myself, aye, the motion carries. For Human Relations Commission, there are 6 vacancies. And there is a recommendation to reappoint Brandon Oliver and Harvey Dean, and then to appoint Alma Atkins, Christopher Boyd, and Bethany Duke.
I have a question about this one. So Bethany Duke can we get some staff clarification that Bethany does not live in the city limits?
I'm pulling it up right now.
I know that we strive to include people that live in Asheville.
Bethany Duke does not live in the city.
I'll also add that with gratitude that Brandon Oliver and Harvey Dean Harold are both actively participating in the HRCA throughout the pandemic, and I appreciate that consistency of their participation. So what I would recommend is a motion to approve Brandon Oliver, Harvey Dean Harold for reappointment, and Alma Atkins and Christopher Boyd for appointment.
I believe we had a motion. Shanika, did you?
No, I didn't make a motion. I was just
I
reading off the
apologize.
recommendations. I didn't put it into motion, but a motion has been made. Is there a second? I'll second that motion.
Can
I'll
you
do
please
a roll.
repeat that motion?
Okay, the motion was to reappoint Brandon Oliver and Harvey Dean and to appoint only Alma Atkins, Christopher Boyd, and I guess to re-advertise for other seats, trying and to look for people who live within the city limits first before we.
And for clarification, it's Harvey Dean Harold.
So a motion in a second. I'll make the second. I'll do a roll call vote for approval. Councilwoman Mosley,
Aye.
Councilwoman Roney.
Aye.
All right, and I for myself, and the motion carries. Multimodal transportation, there is one vacancy, and I believe that there is interest and eligibility to reappoint Randy Warren.
Randy Warren is the vice chair, and I would enthusiastically move to recommend the appointment or reappointment of Randy Warren.
I'll second that. I'll do a roll call vote for approval. Councilwoman Mosley,
Aye.
Councilwoman Roney,
Aye.
and myself, aye. The motion carries. For the Neighborhood Advisory Committee, we didn't get a recommendation from the committee, but I was moved by Elise Martyr. Is there another, and I'll make that a motion to recommend her, but I don't have the other individual to cover that other vacancy. Is there a recommendation?
I don't have a recommendation, but I'll second your motion that you made.
All right, Jerry, do you have anything?
Just to point out that the Neighborhood Advisory Committee, Elizabeth Lekas Worrell is eligible for reappointment and interested in reappointment.
So I'll make a motion to reappoint Elizabeth. Say her name again. I don't have my notes here.
Elizabeth Lekas, Likis, Worley, Werle.
And Elizabeth is the current Multimodal Transportation Commission liaison from Neighborhood Advisory Committee. We were able to fill that position.
I'm paused for a minute so I can pull her names. Will someone else make the motion since I don't have my notes in front of me? And that motion is to reappoint Elizabeth and to appoint Elise Martyr.
I move to appoint Elise Martyr and reappoint Elizabeth Likas Worley to the Neighborhood Advisory Committee.
All right, I'll second. Fine. I'll second that motion. Roll call vote. Councilwoman Mosley,
Aye.
Councilwoman Roney,
Aye.
and myself, aye. The motion carries. Now we have a presentation from Emily Ball. Is she present?
Emily has just
Emily,
joined.
how are you? Okay.
Good morning.
Emily, what do you have for us?
Good morning. I am here to talk to you about the Homeless Initiative Advisory Committee. Emily Ball from the Community and Economic Development Department. Homeless Initiative Advisory Committee, HIAC, as you know, has multiple functions. This is a jointly appointed committee between the city and the county. And so one of those functions, of course, is advisory to both the city and the county. One is just overall support and development of the homeless service system in our community. And then the third is that HIAC serves as the governance body for the continuum of care, which is the HUD framework that I know you all are familiar with, that facilitates access to federal funding for homeless and housing programs in our community. And so because of that, we are required to follow HUD regulations for continuum of care governance. And Brian Husky, who had previously been in our department, had put together a proposal that he presented to this group earlier this year to bring about restructuring HIAC to bring us into better compliance with those continuum of care regulations. That proposal was prior to the city's overall initiative to look at the structure of boards and commissions. And also just after some additional conversation, it seems like we have multiple options for a restructuring pathway for HIAC to get into better compliance. We also, as you know, are currently working with the National Alliance to End Homelessness on a consultancy around unsheltered homelessness in our community. There's certainly experts on continuum of care governance as well. And so we want to get some input from them, want to get some guidance from HUD in particular about that compliance piece. So when Brian had originally presented that restructuring proposal, he had asked both the city and the county to pause on refilling vacancies on HIAC until that restructure was completed. But because we're now looking at multiple options, we know that working through a plan on a restructuring will take some time, and want to be sure that we really get that right. And also, in the meantime, want to be sure that we have an active and engaged committee, partly, because we have a lot of need in the community, and also because we have 2 HUD funding processes coming up this summer. That's the Continuum of Care and Emergency Solutions Grant. And so we'll certainly need that committee to be active in both of those funding processes. So for all those reasons, we are asking both the city and the county to resume filling vacancies on HIAC, knowing that we will be looking to restructure at some point in the future, but want to just take our time and really do a thorough, thoughtful job with that to be sure that we get that structure right. The other thing I wanted to mention is that HUD does have some particular parameters around representation of sectors on continuum of care governance boards, meaning just wanting to ensure that the full community is represented relevant to homelessness on the continuum of care governance body. So looking at representation from, veteran groups and businesses and folks who serve people fleeing domestic violence, just like some very specific sectors that are intended to be included in that governance body. And so we have reconvened a nominating work group of HIAC members to review applications and make recommendations for appointment that would be in line with those parameters to get that representation from across those sectors, and have created a document to share with you that would accompany any recommendations from that group to show which sectors we currently have represented on HIAC, and then which sector the work group is hoping to fill with this particular nomination. And we do have a nomination. The nominating committee does have a recommendation, but I'll pause there and see if you have any questions about the overall plan. Okay. So the recommendation from the nominating committee is for appointment of Jessica Supik. Jessica is one of the school liaisons. So part of the federal structure is that every school system in the country is required to have a staff position that is a liaison to homeless students and their families to help identify those folks and connect them with resources. Jessica is the liaison for Asheville City Schools. She does live in the city limits, and we don't currently have representation from either school system on HIAC. So we're looking to be sure that we include that voice. Certainly want to be sure that we include just general awareness and connectivity with families and unaccompanied youth who are experiencing homelessness in our community.
Thank you, Emily. Any questions from the committee? Okay, we have a recommendation to appoint Jessica Suffolk to the Homeless Initiative Advisory Committee, and I'll make that motion. Is there a second?
This is Kim. Okay.
Okay, with the motion and a second, I'll do a roll call vote for approval. Councilwoman Mosley,
Aye.
Councilwoman Roney,
Aye.
and myself, motion carries. Jerry,
Please advise who seconded that. I apologize, I missed that.
I think Councilwoman Roney both jumped in at the same time, so it's hard to tell, but you got it?
I got Councilwoman Roney as second.
Okay, committee, we have to make a decision on how we're going to decide appointment process for the TDA. Larry Crosby, his term is expired and he represents the 100 rooms or less seat. He's eligible, interested, and recommended, but it's our decision to make sure that to decide that process. So given that he is eligible, interested, recommended by the board, how do you all want to move forward?
I'm certainly fine with recommending his reappointment at this stage.
I know we have in the short session potential legislation that could change the membership structure of the Tourism Development Authority. And I know that we don't have an exact timeline for when we might see that change. But does staff have an idea of if the number will increase and we'll be appointing new seats so that this seat being filled would remain regardless? Or would keeping this seat open benefit our ability to diversify the board membership?
I do not know about what is being proposed as far as the makeup of what could be a new board.
And speaking of diversifying, I haven't seen in the packet, do we have the demographic makeup of the board in our packet?
Yes, it should be. Let me pull that up here for you. Bear with me. It takes just a second. My computer's a little slow.
Mine keeps giving me the Z's every time I try and open that application packet.
Okay, let me get that up here. Now, we would not have the entire board, I don't believe, because it is not a city managed tourism authority. I apologize. We have 4 city appointments that I can speak to. All 4 appointments are male, 3 are white, 2 live in the north, 1 in the south, 1 central. For the county, they have 4 appointments, 2 male, 2 female. And then the chamber has 1 female appointment. Do not have any other demographics from the county or the chamber.
I'm going to make a recommendation to reappoint Larry Crosby to the 100 rooms or less seat. What was his term? Did he complete someone else's term or did he serve a full term?
Yes, he was serving on an unexpired term, so he has not served a full 1 term yet.
Yeah, I would love to see him remain, and I think he's the only Black
That's correct.
member of that. Yeah, so that's the motion.
Well, second.
Okay, I'll do a roll call vote for approval. Councilwoman Mosley,
Aye.
Councilwoman Roney,
Aye.
and myself, aye. The motion carries to reappoint Larry Crosby to the 100 rooms or less seat on TDA. That's all we have agenda-wise today. We'll move on, unless there is from the committee. Jerry? You're muted.
The meetings for this committee for July and August, since council will not be meeting on the dates normally reserved for this meeting, to reconsider rescheduling the July 12th and the August 9th meetings.
Are there any meetings ahead of the council meeting for those months? Because I would just rather keep it on the same day as a council meeting.
There is public safety at 11 o'clock on that fourth Tuesday.
Mhm. Let's wait on that because there's no big deal to have 3 meetings on one day. I think sometimes we do that. So just to keep it in line with meetings on the same day, I'd rather just go on and hammer it out in one day than decide it throughout the month. I know members of the committee are thinking about taking vacation during those months. So let's just, we'll discuss that maybe through email to nail down those dates. But thank you for that. Anybody in the queue for public comment?
One moment. We do not have any callers.
We do have one realignment update from Deputy Clerk Gross also on the.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
How about it?
Yeah, just a very quick update. The next meeting for the working group is scheduled for June 23rd. So that's next Thursday. We're still working on that agenda, but we hope to have that posted this week.
All right, thank you for that update. If there's nothing else, we'll adjourn this meeting. See y'all later.